are you really? Yeah, good. That started with the high school or that other?
It's
red line? Okay. So we're planning a January trip into the park. Winter trip. No, just with snowshoe in and out. Spend a couple of nights. But there's a pass. You go from 3,000 to about 7,000 in 5 miles. And then you drop down into the park. You got, you got to get over from one side to the other. So,
Okay, you coming back?
oh yeah, I got to call my dog. Yeah, so we're trying to do logistics on that. This will be the same trail that we take next summer for our pack. I know you're mentioning our 50th. Yeah, so this will be the same. So it's kind of fun, man. The next summer pack with boots, 4,000 feet, 5 miles is.
Yeah. What do you get fresh now?
You just gotta get 2 young guys, gotta get 2 30-year-olds in front, so by the time I come along the trail.
Yeah.
Because if you're busting the trail, even 6 inches.
Were you considering like AT speeds or anything like that?
So Kenny, you know Kenny? Yeah, he's a good skier. That's the goal, is to find something for him, and he's got another buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I haven't done any winter overnight stuff in a long time.
Yeah, that's commitment for sure.
Right away, I think it's pretty good. And Kenny teaches having 3 classes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's, yeah, that just makes you feel. Okay, I'll have a good one.
My dad got that right too. He said, too bad I don't remember it.
I remember it, but
Well, that's.
they did a great job.
Yeah, yeah. All right, see you later. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, give it, lady. Thank you. I know.
Oh.
Okay.
You're not expensive.
Pretty quiet. Yeah. I was just telling Patrick it was a little strange, because I also had to deal with the other medication crud that I'm going through with. So they need a blood work, and I'm like, how do I do that when I'm, so I called West Park. And I said,
Did you need anything from me?
oh,
You're good?
We're good to go.
we don't know.
Let's see the dog.
So he called me back in about an hour, and I was impressed. She said, all right, here's our plan, but we need to do it this afternoon, because Tuesday was a testing day, so they or maybe it was. They didn't want to do it when they did the 100 COVID tests, you know.
We had
so
no
they
way
did, so
to get out.
Yeah. No, they submitted, they said, well, not really. We'll have you brought up in front of the ER, open the truck, get your blood, and
Wow. Just like a flu.
yeah, I said,
Make the front of the train.
Yeah.
So, my,
work.
17-year-old daughter,
The cardiac rehab was open, so I haven't been able to do that, but
get busted in the door.
Huh.
I'm not afraid to do some of those things. They said if it's 80, it might be a different story.
Yeah.
So, but they're, I mean, yeah, pushing us back pretty hard.
When I get her, that's my whole.
It's hard, I don't first understand that side of it.
No, they don't, unless they have someone that's directly.
How long have you been over?
And that's the part that concerns me, that's when people ask me.
So she's old enough that she did.
It's like,
No, she was
we're
in
gonna get
mine.
COVID, I understand that, maybe
I know,
not.
it's like an hour.
Get through it, maybe sick, but fine.
And I don't have like 17.
But I said that, I have a friend that I culture that they don't have any place to do it, much taken.
I'm gonna do it.
They don't have to staff that. Or the hunter. Those are average things that happen every day. They're in the problem right now. So if we can slow it down, slow it down.
Yeah, it's,
That's nice.
at the end of the day, it's like county staff prepare for.
Yeah.
So I think if you're doing your staff, you're embracing your resources.
So hard, and they're spraying people around. It's a song.
You get hot coffee.
Even if you get a second rescue call, right now, it still has kind of a connected effect in a certain way.
What part of they just realize the quantity of things.
I don't think,
Won't go on.
Those guys can respond, some of them won't.
exactly, there's a lot of people with that, so it's
Yeah, it's been, there's just a snowball effect to it. That's the part that bothers me the most.
They're ready.
And I don't think anybody understands. I was talking to my son who's our last one board meeting. They had to send a part patient to Rangers. They'll take them here, and wouldn't take a lot. They were attacked.
South Springs County had.
I said, should we just?
They had a few in and out.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah.
No, they're better than we are. He said they're kind of slow down. I think the
So you
only.
couldn't sit around his dorm room?
She can turn the lock here, so she.
They're in every hospital, so they have a lot of things set up pretty well.
Yeah.
So they're doing fine. Again, they're not a trauma hospital, they're just a move them in and out of the ED, you know, and that was supposed to.
So they're close enough to Casper, and they just.
Yeah, usually it's Casper, same thing.
Yeah, that would have been a tough call to say, maybe that's fine. That would be pretty good story.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just been, you know, they're doing the best they can,
Yeah.
knowing where they can send people and for what reasons, you know, heart attacks or that kind of thing is big. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
We're just finishing a break.
Well, good, I'm sure you guys deserve it. Is this where you're holding all the county commissioner functions now for space?
So for this, yeah, for the next month at least, probably until things get sorted out. They tried to go back upstairs, but that didn't work out very well.
Is it just a dimensional space issue?
Yeah, it's the 6 feet apart and how many people we had. Just don't know. Some of the public hearings, yeah, 5 people. And, you know, theoretically, we're exempt from all of those orders, but why would you want to be? You
Yeah,
know,
that seems like a good plan.
you know, so. Jake will be back in a minute, he's online. Ten pounds.
How's Sean?
You know, should I fit to you or? Should I fit to you? Make up something grand? I'm doing okay, doing okay. Times are challenging right now for everybody.
Did you get a chance to meet, and you may already know, Greg, Hummerside?
You know, I've not got a chance to
Not yet?
meet Greg,
You will.
but it was, 30 years ago I met him. It's been a long time.
So he's been around.
That's the last time I saw him too. He hasn't changed a hell of a lot. He's out there and he's grayer and he's not near as big as he used to be. Of course, you're bigger than you used to be.
Fatter, but
But he was what, you were a year behind me?
yeah, that sounds right.
I had 84.
84? Oh, I'm a youngster compared to you.
Huh?
I'm way younger than you.
What, you were like 86,
87.
87?
Significantly younger.
I think Greg was like 82.
Was he that? Huh.
Yeah, he was 2 years older.
Yeah, I know his dad pretty well.
Yeah.
I
I rooted with him in Laramie for 1 year.
That should have been interesting.
Yeah. But what is this whole key never tells?
Yeah.
I won't.
Especially stories on both sides of that one.
Well, we rented it wasn't just him and I, we rented a big house, there was 6 of us in this house.
Wow.
So, I got this. Are we live?
Actually, everybody's seeing it, or should I move it down a little?
No, that's fine. We can see it.
All right.
It's there.
Anyway, I think you'll really like.
Great, well, if you folks don't mind, we'll set up a discussion.
They talked about getting together with you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
We're gonna have to close the door because the audio isn't coming very well for the broadcast, so
Okay.
I don't think we've had enough people in there that was probably affected.
No, I mean, if somebody really wants it, they'll figure it out.
Okay,
Okay.
so we'll just close it for the meeting.
Okay.
I'll let you know that.
So Greg started, he said he's gonna get around, Greg's the new landfill guy. He, drinking from a fire hose. Met him today. But you guys and the 2 municipalities are the finalists that get around and meet and talk about what's going on. He said he'd try to get that done.
Thank you.
Did you see my email? Can you sign me up? Usually I said, sign me up.
Yes, I sent that to you now.
Okay, sign me up.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Once I get her back, I'll send it back.
Okay.
Okay?
I just need the Zoom.
That needs to be in meeting, so Susan just downloaded the newest version, it didn't change much.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it's what it's worked on.
Okay.
Okay, everybody ready? All right, please rise and pledge allegiance. Boyd, you want to lead us today, please?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You got it working? Okay.
one thing. All right, we're good. That's.
We're good to go.
Yep, we're good.
Okay, morning, everybody. Well, first of all, I want to thank Susan and Mike Connor in particular for getting this all set up. This was not an easy deal, so appreciate it, everybody.
Thank you.
First item on the agenda, this is the approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the consent agenda as listed.
Second.
Okay, further discussion on the motion, all those in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. All right. Now we gotta wait on Joy.
He's in the hall.
Oh, is he?
Just ran
Now,
down.
come on in.
Go pound on the bathroom door. I think I saw her running down there. Oh, shoot.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, this will be the planning zone director, Joy Hill, public hearing, continuation of the public hearing on the, planning zone small wastewater regulation. Morning, Joy.
Morning, Mr. Chair. So since the last hearing, or the last continuation of the hearing, I made the changes requested. One being the removal of the planning director and planning and zoning department as the, I guess, manager of the process, so to speak. And it is now corrected to show DLO and county wastewater administrator, small wastewater administrator. I also met with Jerry Herwire, and I had put some changes into the chemical toilet allowances to address probably the majority of their concerns. We we aren't going to be able to address 100% of their concerns because a number of them are businesses whose small wastewater needs should be addressed as part of the permitting process. So I can't really squeeze them in because technically they should have a permit otherwise. So that's kind of where we're at with that. Just want to make some final statements based on communication with the board. Our current regulations actually prohibit the use of chemical toilets for long-term or permanent treatment of wastewater. We don't have the option in our regs. We don't have it in the DEQ permit that we were provided. So we've already been telling people no. We also recognize, though, that we could be doing better for the public by clarifying when they are appropriate. And so that's why we're here. I did have many discussions with Keel Sanitation, and as part of those discussions, I learned there's more long-term uses of these chemical toilets than I had even realized. And I think several of them are reasonable long-term uses of them. And I think we've addressed those.
Could you give me an example of what you consider reasonable long-term?
So when I say long-term, over 30-day use, for instance, game and fish inspection stations, that might be along the highway or at a remote location where it doesn't make sense to put a septic system for that type of a use. They're identified in here, but I'll just read a couple of them. Ag practices where you have large fields and you have workers way out, and there's no toilet facilities, but obviously they need them. Otherwise they'd have to waste a lot of time coming back in to find a facility. That's a practical use for a season. Long-term use at remote industrial sites, a lot of times people are out far for maintenance on oil rigs or pipelines or things like that, but it's a regular station, but there's not water, to serve a normal small wastewater use. That would be appropriate. Those are the primary, construction sites, obviously. So we've addressed those concerns for the most part. A justification for chemical toilet concern. Movement of wastewater on and off of the site is, of course, more risky than treating small wastewater on site, especially for small uses like most of these. There are other permissible on-site treatment possibilities available. So we have holding tanks, we have privies, we have outhouses. There's other things that can be used instead of chemical toilets, especially for no water uses. The use of these chemical toilets is increasing in Park County. That's been, Keel explained that. They've seen a trend in increase in that. I would expect that. We have more building permits coming in. We have more use permits coming in. And of course, there's going to be more construction happening. And so it's reasonable to think that trend will continue. And so it would be reasonable to address the use of chemical toilets now, before things potentially get out of hand. And chemical toilets are addressed in regulations all over the nation. Oftentimes, they're included in nuisance regulations, which is true of the city of Cody, for instance. Powell is similar. I assume that those regulations were not created because someone thought they could become a nuisance, but rather because they had been a nuisance. Chemical toilets are always a nuisance. We know that as well. But I think it's reasonable that we recognize that long-term use of a chemical toilet to serve someone's small wastewater needs it's not necessary and it's not adequate when there's other options. I do think there's a time and a place for chemical toilets. We've identified some of those in the newest draft of the regulations. I tried very hard to accommodate Keel Sanitation or others, concerns about them. And I think what we have in place right now is going to be incredibly helpful for staff to be able to answer the questions of the public that are coming in. That's all I have.
That's all you got? Question? What? Nothing?
But not yet.
Okay, public comment.
Okay, I'm Jerry Gerwar. One thing Joy said that I just like.
You can take your mask down. I'm good. The post. There you go. Thank you.
Anyway, one thing Joy said is her opinion that portable restrooms, portable toilets are a nuisance. I don't know that I would agree with that. I mean, it's a nuisance to some people, maybe it's a necessity for others. So
Critical,
yeah, so it's like that. cultural side. You don't have a portable restroom within, walking distance, basically. The sagebrush or a ditch is gonna be the nearest portable restroom, I should say. So, anyway, with that being said, I think from my standpoint, and talking with George, is that I think we need maybe a definition on what seasonal is. I mean, we have customers out there that, they're businesses, but they're having portable restrooms out there for, the summer season to cover their influx of business that's, normally not there. And it's more of a convenience than anything else.
Mr. Chair, what type of business, Jerry? Give me an example.
Red Barn is a good example. They get 3 portable restrooms every summer, because where they're located at, they're just outside the park. It's the first place really that has, I don't know if you want to call them, first place got a back, basically the public restroom that you can use. And they get a lot of buses that stop by. You get half a dozen people that go in and buy something out of the store. You got another 50 that might go in there and try to use the bathroom. So they don't want to overload their septic system, so they're renting these portable restrooms for the summer. And to me, that's seasonal use, but according to the way the rules are progressed, that wouldn't be allowed. Because it would be only agricultural and then,
The game and fish type.
game and fish.
Yeah, government.
And another example is Powell Golf Course. They get 2 portable restrooms for the winter. I call it season. There's a non-golf season. The course is not open. They make no money during that time. A lot of the community uses that for walking, for if we got snows, cross-country skiing, whatever that. We just started providing, Powell Golf Course, I'm the president of that actually. So. But anyway, we started providing portable restrooms out there just so somebody had a place to relieve themselves. And those getting in sagebrush or whatever. So there again, that's another one that I would think would be seasonally used, because from a golf course standpoint, it's not practical to put in an outhouse for something you're not getting any revenue off. You're just providing it for the public. That would be my comment on the seasonal side. I personally think that if we're going to allow seasonal use, it shouldn't be specific to specific people. I almost think it should be across the board. You're not understanding. So I just think that conversation needs to be had. Long-term use, there again, you're talking anything over 30 days. We have some customers, these aren't customers, just in another example. I know there's snowbirds here that they have a motor home or something, big fifth wheel or whatever, and they got property here and they got a place down in Arizona. Go down to Arizona in the winter, they come back here in the summer, they set up their fifth wheel out there, and then they deal with their sewage. They might not have a septic on their property or whatever. Right now, they're looked at, from what I understand, the same way as portable restrooms. 30 days, they would have to have some sort of permission.
Are you talking about for RVs?
Yes.
Yeah, permanent RV small wastewater requirement is 90 days or greater. So if you're going to stay in your RV for more than 90 days in a year, you need an in-place septic system for that use.
So if they're there 89 days, they're okay.
Yeah, but there again, when you're talking summer, you're going to be good for more than 90 days. So
Yeah.
the way this is set up, you're basically going to have a septic system if you're in that situation. And I know that there's situations around.
And Jerry, That's in our development regs, not in our septic regs.
Okay.
Just wanted to clarify.
Because, and then the reason I say that is because we get calls from time to time to go out to somebody's fifth wheel or whatever and pump their holding tank. So we provide that service too. So I know those are other too. And as far as moving the sewage from a portable restroom to the irrigation pond, it's pretty much safe as it can be. It's vacuumed out of the tank into a truck. You got valve and stuff where you don't get any leakage. You know, it's about safe. It's obviously a hell of a lot safer. It's a lot safer than somebody having a camper and having all these totes fill up out of their waste tanks and then throw that back with their dump, whatever, to take to a dump site and dump that. But anyway, well, they're just certain thoughts I have. So, the other thing that's a little concerning to me is with the time limits we got, enjoy talking about yesterday, is that we don't know as a business who has what in their specialty. So we don't know who's got an okay to hook chemical toilet or portable toilet, whatever you want to call them, and who doesn't. So if we get a call that somebody wants a portable restroom, how are we going to know that?
Well, Joey, if you could address that, I mean, to me, it's not your position to enforce
I
it.
agree. It's on them.
That's the other thing.
Say, God bless you, write me a check, I'll be there tomorrow.
You bet. You give me a call and you pay the bill, I'll be there.
Yeah.
And if there's some type of violation, that has no reflection on you.
If you're worried about them, get the cash up front, because I never may call Joy.
Well, and that's one thing with the influx of people that we have some people coming from other parts of the country. I think we do stuff here really different. But overall, I don't want to do anything that discourages, and not from a Keel standpoint, but from a personal standpoint, is I don't want to do anything that discourages use of portable restrooms in the situations we've got now, because it's so much better than it used to be. I was in the oil field, and you rarely had a portable restroom out there. You find a place to take care of business.
Well, to me, moving forward, there's going to be more calls for portable toilets in the future as they start to change in Park County and more people come in and think of innovative ideas and how to make a living and those types of things. To me, there's going to be more demand for portable toilets in the future. And I guess, Joy, I have a question for you. I read the draft, and I think you tried to come up and identify the exceptions that would be agreeable to. But he just pointed out, there's always going to be exceptions that we can't think of. And your small wastewater administrator has the authority to address those, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, and I'll address the concerns he had, and we talked about these yesterday. Jerry and I have had some really thoughtful conversations, so his input is very valuable. As far as the Red Barn, that's a business.
Yeah.
They absolutely need to address their small wastewater needs as part of their business, and it's not appropriate to just put chemical toilets out, not as part of their business. And that's just part of our development regs right now, so that's my answer on that. And we talked about that. The golf course, we have this number 10, which is for any other instance where a chemical toilet may be necessary, a written request shall be submitted to determine if it's appropriate. That's our exception place, and it should be acceptable for the DLO or county small wastewater administrator who are qualified by DEQ to make these decisions to evaluate those cases, which we're talking about a handful of things probably across the county.
Yeah.
And even if we're talking about two handfuls of things, we're still talking about two handfuls of things in the grand scheme of things. I've addressed the industrial uses, having chemical toilets in those remote places. It's right here now. I mean, again, we've hit the majority mark on this topic. The ones that are left are really mostly business issues or things that really should be addressed as part of that use anyway. So, but to answer your question, really, we have the exception. We have the ability for a DLO or a small wastewater administrator to make those calls, and we should put some confidence in them that they should be able to make those decisions. And if they have DEQ to defer to, which we do.
Lee, you got a question?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, as Joy and I have talked a little bit about this, but I realize it's already in our regulations, but everything hinging around the conversation about the chemical toilets comes down to long-term use. And it's been decided that we don't want long-term use. But why do we not want long-term use? Is there data out there that shows that there's harm being incurred by long-term use of these systems? I mean, if you have a chemical toilet sitting on your place, it's going to lessen the impact on your current system. Is there chemical spillage that's occurring? Where's the harm? I don't think that nuisance is a harm. If I wanted to set up, several plastic blue storage sheds on my property, I could probably get that done. So again, if there's data out there, I'd be interested to see it of where harm occurs by long-term use. Thanks.
Reply to that?
I don't have data for it.
Okay.
DEQ doesn't even have data for it, but DEQ does not provide for the allowance of chemical toilets for long-term use. And our regulations also do not allow. And we have to go based on DEQ's permit application, which is what we use, and there is no chemical toilet option. And for other things like privies and outhouses, DEQ provides guidance. For holding tanks, DEQ provides guidance. For sand mound systems and lagoon systems, there's guidance. There's not guidance for chemical toilets for long-term use because they're not intended for long-term use. And that's just basically it.
Lloyd?
Mr. Chairman, my input on this as far as the ones you're affecting are going to be businesses. And for instance is the Red Barn. Now their business may be perfectly set up for the amount of clientele to walk through their door. The problem is when they, on a daily average, maybe they have 150 people and their system is more than adequate. But when 50 of them show up within 30 minutes and there's a line coming out the door, this gives them an alternative as opposed to going behind a building and causing more environmental issues and health safety issues. They have that option of that porta potty out there. So I don't see why we need to, if we remove that option for them, you're going to be causing more harm. These people are going to be going behind the buses and behind a propane tank or wherever to relieve themselves because the line is not. So unless we have an actual problem with it, that the solution isn't going to cause more harm, leave it alone. That's my opinion on this chemical.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
So I want to hear from Mr. Warner too. I know he came in, but so my thoughts on the Red Barn and the golf course. I mean, the golf course makes sense to me. Falls under that exception thing. So here's what we're thinking. Yeah, put them out there, and it'll see 3 months maybe it's 4 or 5 months, but that makes sense to me. The Red Barn, in my opinion, is a business. They have an SUP. They generate revenue from these buses stopping. They get fuel. They come in. They need to take care of the business needs of the people that are using that property. That's an SUP. That's a business. That's black and white in my mind. They need to, if they don't have the restrooms for those people, then build another building, put another septic in, and take care of the facilities so these people will stop and buy an extra, come in and maybe the bus will fuel up or maybe these people will get something. So I see that as an opportunity. Businesses with an SUP in my mind, should have a permanent solution. And I like where we're headed. Sean and I have come back on this. Is this an opportunity to fix something and we don't have a problem yet? Well, we're kind of there. Is this government solving something and nobody's asking for a solution? Here we go with government solving something and we don't have a problem, but man, it's coming. I mean, Jerry talked about it. I mean, these things, in theory, I see it's an area of opportunity to take advantage of if we don't get our arms around something. I like what Jerry and Joy basically negotiated with this thing. I kind of like where it's headed. So those are my thoughts.
I'm not sure we don't have a little bit of a problem.
You might need to take your.
Oh, sorry. Just because currently, we've had discussions even among us about our lagoons and how they fill up and how much we might be limited or have to tell somebody else no because of dumping the chemical solution stuff into the lagoons. Right now, that works for the county. But if we keep allowing more and more of these, it's going to be our responsibility to get this stuff taken care of somewhere. And I think we need to take that into account as to how much we allow them to happen. I agree with what they've said about the golf course and that type of thing, but I also agree that the businesses, if it's a business for them and they have an SUP, they need to take care of their septic. And if somebody's coming back every summer to the same parcel with a motorhome for 6 months, maybe they ought to put a septic system in. I mean, that type of thing. But I think we need to think about the fact that this isn't just a current issue. It could be a longer term issue as we talk about what to do with those lagoons and how much could be delivered out there. We've already talked about that at times.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, Sean Warner, I represent ownership at Field Sanitation. Jerry did a way better job than I will of speaking. I think Joy and Jerry have worked well together. I think we're appreciative of many of the items that we've had some progress on. My concern comes more from being a businessman in Park County. The Red Barn's been used as an example. It's unfair to throw those people out there. I see a real shortfall in getting input from the businesses that are going to be impacted by this. And I think if the folks from the Red Barn were here, they would tell you a story that would make you go, oh, we're not looking at this quite right. I think that story gets repeated over and over by the lodges, by the various businesses around town. And I would encourage you to step back. You're doing something really good. We think it's necessary. The overall process, we got to look at it. The county needs to look at it. It just needs more time cooking and getting input from the businesses. That's the component that I perceive as missing right now. As far as there being a handful of exceptions, we could sit here and in an hour come up with 50, probably 20%. I mean, the exceptions are probably endless. So thank you. And thank you, Joy, for working with Jerry. We appreciate it.
Other comments, questions?
Mr. Chairman, speaking to Sean's point, welcome to our world. You know, we go out and we ask for input. We beg for input. We go to County Club, we advertise, or bring cookies out and be like 2 people there. And this is major zoning issues that affect everybody, you know? It's just so hard to get public input. I mean, we advertise in the paper, we have our regs we got to go by, we advertise in the paper, we try to get input, we try to go to people, and 1 or 2 people will contact us, but it's just hard to decide. You know, we try to do it in the wintertime, because in the summertime, they're not going to be here.
Yeah.
But in the wintertime, are they gone, or they're staffed down, so now they can't leave, you know, it's really difficult to find how much time to give them access, what time of year. And the one thing, you know, we're doing this part now, but we are going to look at our land use plan next year or the year after, and that would be a chance, an opportunity. This stuff's not set in stone. I mean, there's no reason why we can't go through a season and come back and say, hey, we found these 4 things that we take another look at. Now, there's the process to change the regs, but that's something to think about too. Where you took your mask off, so you might have something to say, Mr. Warner.
Sure. So, Commissioner, I can only imagine how challenging your job is, especially COVID. We just got through a contentious election process that took everybody's eye off the ball of things like this. Nobody is paying attention to regulation changes. It's been a very difficult 6 months in a lot of ways, very challenging. There's great intentions in this, and I think there's a lot of really good stuff that you folks should push forward and that we support. I just think for every good thing that's going to be accomplished here, my imagination runs Instead, there's scores of things that are gonna be like, we didn't foresee that, we didn't understand that. I'm just asking, are you sure you're ready for this? Our companies, Jerry and I talked about this 100 times. Our company's gonna be fine. We're not probably gonna be impacted, if anything, maybe in the positive. I'm looking at this as a businessman in Park County. Is this a good thing for the county? I have concerns, maybe they'd be abated if we got more input from businesses. And I understand that's a challenge, but just having a little keel sanitation in here talking, that's not a good representation of Park County business.
Yeah, well, I guess personally, moving forward, I would tend to agree with Darcy's comments. And right now, my opinion is maybe we don't have a serious problem, but it's going to get worse. There's no question about that. I believe Park County is going to continue to grow. And we have seen as commissioners, more people move in and everybody's got a new idea or a different way of doing things. And if there's a rule or a regulation, they're going to figure out a way to try and somehow get around it. And I guess, and Jake touched on it. And this is a living document. I mean, it's not carved in stone. This is an ongoing living thing. And if we go ahead and approve the draft as written, which I think we should, because personally, I think we need some type of regulation on it. Because as I said, it's going to get worse. And as these exceptions come up, if we have to, we have the process we have to follow, but we'll certainly do it and rewrite the regs again and keep doing it until we get it right. But to me, we got to start someplace. And I think Joey has done an excellent job. Yeah, I feel it. And I think Joey has done an excellent job trying to talk with you folks and cooperate and get our input and try and put a document together that's is a good starting place. And to me, that's what we have here is a starting place. And the small waste order administrator does have the authority to take care of exceptions on a case-by-case basis. So, Lee.
To Commissioner Overfield's point about capacity at the lagoons, I'm not sure how we're going to wind up addressing that, but I would foresee that being an economically driven process. And if it gets to the point where we need to start charging more, I can't see Sean over there, but if we get to the point where we have to start charging more in order to, and in anticipation of rebuilding the lagoons, whatever it turns out to be, that's going to be an economically driven process where they're going to have to pass that on to the folks that are using these chemical toilets. Then the folks that are using the chemical toilets are going to have to make a decision on whether it is economically feasible to continue using them or to move forward with putting in a small wastewater system or another option. So I see, again, I don't see that as what we have to start thinking about. I mean, we need to keep our eye on it. But if it gets economically unfeasible for these folks to get rid of the septage, then it's going to dictate how many of those toilets are out there.
Okay. What?
Mr. Chairman, we're getting close here. I want to agree with Commissioner Livingston in response to what Dossie mentioned as well, and I agree 100% that should be really not part of the issue. I know we should think about it, but it will take care of itself. That's what we're supposed to do, and let capitalism and supply and demand fill itself, and it could even move forward into the private sector. And if they need to build their own lagoon or ship it further, that's their choice, and it's not something the government should be dictating. With that, if I could, this is for a better term, we beat this dead horse a lot, and we need to come to closure, I think. There's a lot more to this, to me, than the chemical toilets on the issue. And with that, I'd like to state my feelings on the whole process, and that is, from day one, I've been concerned about why we were rewriting regulations that are only a couple years old anyway. 3 years ago, the application system was this, one page. This is what a contractor or developer had to fill out. That's it. When we went from that to much larger to what it is now, and I don't know what the latest count is, but it's a lot more complicated, a lot more hoops. The end result is the same. As an installer of a septic system, the end result is the same. There's a lot more hoops. I sat up there before I was commissioner and listened to the fact that it wasn't going to cost the homeowner or developer maybe $50 more for a septic system. That was absolute farce. You talk to anyone and it's cost at least $500 more to go through the same process to get the same results. We don't verify anything more than what we ever used to.
It's gonna be low, why did it cost you more?
Yeah, I had the same question.
Because most of the installers do not want to jump through the hoops, so they're forcing the developer, the homeowner, to hire an engineer to do their analysis, if you will, that is still signed off by one person. County doesn't verify. We have pictures now, but the pictures are, you can't tell me that picture can tell the people in planning and zoning what it is. I mean, there's just a lot more things that have to be done. And talk to an installer. I've asked you this since the beginning. I have one. And I know it's a pain in the ass, and I won't do them anymore. I'll install a septic system, but you're gonna go hire engineering associates, somebody else to do all the form work, all the application stuff, because it's a pain in the butt. And that's not what I do. I'm not a sit-down engineer. So I just don't know why we need to fix something if it is not broken. The system is, and as far as chemical toilets, if Wyoming DEQ isn't even recognizing the problem, why are we going above and beyond? We'll talk about growing government, and that's what we're doing here. Not to mention that P&Z is already overworked. We're growing government for them to have more things for them to keep in track of. And you always get back to enforcement. We can't enforce any of this, so why are we making rules? And I'll be in with that. I'm just not in support in any way of redoing the septic, the small wastewater regulations. I think they were fine 3 years ago. They got revamped 2 years ago just to add more things that brought us up to supposed DEQ's recommendations. And we're already there.
Yeah, well, I guess the only comment that I would have is more of a question. And so what you're saying is the reason that the process become more expensive is because the installer don't want to mess with the design phase of it. So they're forcing the owner of the property to hire an engineering firm. But from Tim's testimony, one of our other hearings that we had, first or second hearing, I mean, he told us about the amount of time that he spends as a small wastewater administrator right now. When people come in and they have the application, say, how do I fill this out? He takes the time and sits down with them and says, okay, these are your perk tests. And this is what you have to have as far as the size of the tank itself, and this is the dimensions of the leach field, and this is how you do it, correct, Kenny? Correct. So, I mean, there is a way around that.
We did that before. This was done 10 years ago.
Yeah. So I don't get to it.
Mr. Chairman, the application process changed years ago before I arrived at Park County. DEQ developed the application that they want counties using for small wastewater design. And so the counties, multiple counties, most counties have adapted either that exact application or adopted it or adapted it to work their process. So we didn't make that choice. DEQ made that choice. And so I didn't like DEQ's application because it didn't walk a person logically through the process of designing a septic system. So I redesigned it. And they like that redesign. It's shorter and it's cleaner. Do people find it complicated? Apparently so, but I didn't create that process. DEQ did. And Ken can attest. I mean, once you run through it with someone, they get it. It's really not that big of a deal. And it's not rocket science to design a septic system, under conventional means, I should say. As far as more work for P&Z, this language is because of the work it's causing us, not being able to answer people's questions about these things, not having clear guidance. It's going to be just so much easier. A person comes in and says, can I do this? And we'll be like, well, no, and here I can show you why. Or here's how the county views this particular subject. So I absolutely am not in favor of making more work for planning and zoning because we're already really busy. But personally, these changes came because of the problems that were happening, not because we woke up and were like, hey, let's do a regulation change. It's not fun, as you can see, going through a regulation change.
Yeah. So moving this process forward, we're running out of time once again. So we have one of two options. Either we close the public hearing or we continue. And if we do continue the public hearing, I think we need to take into consideration the amount of time that Joey has put in on this and talking with the different people and taking the public input and trying to come up with something that's going to work. And that's a big concern. I mean, if we don't think we can get through this process, we need to stop it now because it's a waste of our time. So what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second. Further discussion on the motion? All those in favor of closing the public hearing, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is that a yay, Lee?
That's a yay, Mr. Chairman.
All right, public hearing is closed. Now, what's your pleasure moving forward? If you want more time to deliberate on this, we can put it on the agenda. But I'm not gonna ask Joy to spend any more time on it. I think she made a hell of an effort here to try and take everybody's concerns into consideration. So.
Go ahead, I'm a 30-day wonder.
Mr. Chairman, with the ability to know that we can update these when and if we get further information that how it positively or negatively affects different things in the county. And regulations can be updated at any point, especially as we move through the land use plan. I would make a motion that we approve the changes to the small wastewater regulations as presented.
We have a second on the motion?
Second.
Discussion on the motion. No further discussion. All those in favor of the motion, signify by aye.
Aye.
Lee's an aye, Jake's an aye, Dawes an aye. Okay. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much, Joey. I appreciate all your effort.
Mr. Chairman, will this be in effect immediately or as of a particular date?
January 1.
Yeah, I would say January 1.
Give me enough time. What do you recommend?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Maybe do a January 1
Yeah.
effective date.
Okay. Thank you very much, Joey. Appreciate it. Tim, thank you for all your effort on this. Okay.
Appreciate that very much. Thank you, folks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Jerry.
Sean Warner?
WARNR. Warner.
Thank you.
President.
Hey, Mike.
Oh, that's why he looks familiar. Okay. I haven't seen him for years.
Yeah.
PCLI, you've seen select.
Would you?
July.
Legislative meeting this morning. It's great. After that. Yeah. Well. Anyway, we told her she has a firm that she wants to use. And so if you would get with her, find out what the firm is, make the necessary arrangements, and we'll say, well, it's gotta come out of your budget.
Gotcha.
Yeah, air quality, and there was another air quality test, but they're a little more expensive than maybe we did back.
Okay.
And personally, my feeling is that on the air, I think there's some people that have allergic reaction to it. But at least we'll find out for sure.
Okay.
So if you take care of that, I appreciate it. I'll go talk to her. Great. Okay, next on the agenda, this is a discussion of Park County complex property and the drug court property. And, Mr. Folks, I hate to put you on the spot here, but there you go.
Okay, so Harold Musser came to me 6 months ago and said, you should sell the drug court and you should subdivide the land at the complex and sell some of that land. It's excess, get it on the tax records, generate some revenue. sounded like a great idea. Mr. Edwards hired an engineering firm. We came up with a potential plat that I had a lot of merit. And we're going through the process, and I was all for it. And then I think Commissioner Livingston said that maybe we should, or maybe it was Dosky said that we should bring in some historical perspective. What did our peers, what were they thinking when they bought the complex? And so we brought Tim Frenchen, and he gave us some history on it. Mr. Skork had some input, and they kind of educated us that, it was a 50-year buy. It was a long-term purchase for the county, and that if we sold it off now, it isn't short-sighted. Or we, they're not making any more land like that around the county. Obviously, the drug court building right across the street from our property now. And would it be wise to sell it, or should we hold on to it? And so I kind of did a 180, and I listened to them, and I think, all right, I changed my mind, just personally. Maybe we should look real hard at holding on to that stuff. Don't subdivide, keep that parcel intact, and hold on to the drug court building. Now, the drug court building it's exclusive. We could do one. We could keep the complex and sell the drug court building. So that's something to consider, to discuss. I guess I'd be in favor of holding on to the whole works, thinking, don't subdivide, hold on to the drug court and go. So then, about 3 weeks ago, a local respected broker approached me and said he had what he considered to be a viable developer that had strong interest in the complex property, the building and the land. And would the commissioners ever consider selling the whole works? And so that's what I'm bringing before this group. We don't have an offer. This is a feasibility study at this point. The rest of the public is not aware of this. So obviously, if we chose to consider a sale of the complex, which personally I'm in favor of, considering the sale, taking the next steps, do our own feasibility study. I think we'd have to get with Mr. Skork and make sure that we go through the proper process. How do you sell an asset like that? We got to make sure we do it the right way. We need to advertise far and wide. So this kind of goes counter to my argument of not thinking 50 years into the future. So to circumvent that, I would say if we got, there's two issues. There's the library and then future. So if we got this money, I would say that we look around and buy some land with the money. So we have future expansion for the county if we need to. You buy it now at today's prices and land bank the land. But that would get the complex back on the rent rolls. We would not be competing with industry. Which I hear it, I get it, man. why are you competing with my stuff downtown? Well, anyway, I've fought that argument so many times I can argue, but I understand it, The one point to consider would be the library. And my thoughts are, if the building is worth $6 million, then the developer pays you $5 million, and we get a 99-year lease on the library for $1 a year, including utilities. And those numbers are pie in the sky. I know I'm an appraiser, but I really pulled those out of the air. So anyway, that's just an example of how you could sell the building and keep the library and have be. This particular individual was interested in the property for the development of the third floor, possibly doing something else with that. We've heard residential come up. I hear from this guy. And then he was very interested in developing and doing his own plot for developing the land around the outside. So I guess I'm here today to take any questions and recommend that that if we keep the complex, don't sell off the land, but sell it as a whole, and at least consider selling it as a whole. And I don't know what that looks like. Maybe go to Skork. I mean, we'd have to advertise it far and wide, kind of like we're selling a truck, as my instincts say. put out an RFP.
Well, I know with the building here across the street, when they decided to dispose of it before I became a commissioner. Well, basically what they did, they made the decision to the board that, yeah, we're gonna sell this piece of property. They went out and had it appraised. And they just put it out there. So it's for sale. So the process is relatively simple, I think.
Yeah, advertise far and wide, and then get, I mean, there might be somebody in Denver, might be somebody in Salt Lake, it doesn't have to be somebody local. In fact, it probably wouldn't be somebody local. These are deep pockets for somebody, because the challenge with that building is the existing cash flow. It's designed for a single tenant. It's not designed for multiple tenants. I mean, the heating and air conditioning, the walls, I mean, Garza and his staff have done a great job accommodating multiple tenants. So it'd be really hard for an investor to make that thing pencil as is with the existing cash flow and the existing expenses.
Well, you know, one of the problems the county has right now, it has been an asset to us, but now it's becoming, as it gets older, it's becoming more of a liability to us. And so that's why I would possibly be in favor of selling the whole thing, as long as we could get the long-term lease with the library, because we've got to preserve that down there. I mean, that's a beautiful facility for us.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm in full support of exploring everything. Nothing has to happen until we sign off on it, but I would not be in support of selling off the complex and that property if we have not secured other property that is going to work for us, 30, 40, 50 years in the future. I completely understand former Commissioner French's position on, thinking of the future. I don't want to have the Park County government stuck clear out on the outer edges of town. But again, I think we look at everything. It's not gonna hurt us to look at it.
Well, as far as securing other property, you'd want other property? Because we're gonna be, basically, we got the Game and Fish building coming back to us, along with that property.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mr. Chairman, my thoughts are, and maybe it's not available, but my thoughts are to start poking around and looking, seeing if any other property is out there that would work better for us than saying get clear out on the outskirts of town. That just doesn't work. I mean, if that's what's going to happen, I say we hold on to what we got. It's sitting right in the middle of town. It's convenient for everybody. But if we could find some other stuff that might not be sitting right in the middle of town, but it might be closer, I don't know. But again, I think it's just all worth exploring instead of saying a final no right now.
Okay, Lloyd?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to thank Commissioner Fulkerson for bringing this up. And I was, like him, in full support at the initial idea of putting more of our county-owned property back in the private sector, and even subdividing and developing that east, side. It made perfect sense. But after listening to Commissioner French, and I wish I would have asked this question to them, so I'm going to bring it out to you. His idea before of, the reasoning they bought it was from his experience that he had in Greeley and the town grew up around and they had nowhere to move to. So was their thought originally then maybe to move the entire courthouse into that property? And it was, okay, I'm getting some head shakes around here. So with that possibility of the need in the future, I would agree with you, now change my mind of holding on to the complex in its entirety, or along with Commissioner Livingston of finding a replacement property for future in the same instance. Where we are right now in the city of Cody is prime real estate as well. Now, I know there's limitations on what possibly could be done with this setting courthouse because of historical reasons, but other parts of it, not so much could be developed, and that might be the future of what Cody needs. I don't know. So with that, I'm open. I'm like Commissioner Livingston to leave all options open at this time. I personally, looking at the drug court building across, we have empty space right now in the complex that can be used if we need it. If we move forward with something else, I would like to pursue possibly liquidating that chunk of property, because I don't think the development for the government should be right downtown Cody. That's my vote.
Okay.
So that's one more thing I think we should put on the table. So we encourage drug court to move into the courthouse because we might sell their building. And now they're gone, we have an empty building. And I'm saying keep the building now. Somehow, Cody, in the wintertime, the word got out that maybe this building could be vacant. So we've had a bunch of interest we've had some interest in the building, but in fairness, it has not been advertised to the public that building is for rent. So, rather than consider the two options in front of us, I mean, we got to decide whether we're going to sell or keep it. If we are going to keep it, then I think we need to put an RFP out for this building for rent. If we are going to, if we're going to keep it and rent it, I would recommend we do that rather than consider the two proposals that have been presented to us.
Well, you want to put that in the form of a motion?
I just further muddy the water. We covered a lot of ground here.
Well, we do, but I mean, moving forward, do you think we need actually a formal RFP to put this out on the market for the rental properties in front?
Well, we need to have some sort of a document to make the property available to the public for rent. Whatever that, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it has to be a formal RFP. We just have to say it's for rent, but do you, if we set the lease rate at $14 a foot and we have 5 people that want it at $14 a foot, how do you decide? If you put some sort of a plan out there saying, what would you give us for rent? Here's the rent, you pay the utilities, we'll pay for the major maintenance. How much would you give us for rent?
Okay.
That maximizes the income to the county.
Well, moving forward from a procedural point of view, because we have one commissioner that's in favor of selling it, and we have another commissioner that's in favor of keeping it and renting it, so I do think we need to have a formal motion.
All right, that's a 30-day wonder. I make a motion to keep the drug court building and rent it out, think long term.
Got a second on that? I'll second it. Lee, you second it? Okay, Lee second. Discussion on the motion? Lloyd?
Mr. Chairman, with your motion, your reasoning, why, you say we shouldn't be in the rental business, but then you want to rent it out. Why do you want to keep it?
Long term, just long term growth for the county. I mean, it's downtown, it's right across from the county, it's prime land. And I just think one of the county's departments is going to need that land and building. It's hell, we're already fighting over it now. Is going to need that land in the future, and it'll be gone if we sell.
You don't believe we have, Mr. Chairman, you don't believe we have better facility? If with the sale of that building, they could build a brand new, say if you wanted to keep the complex or whatever, or we have the Game and Fish Place property coming up. I'm questioning because of the location and the possibility of private sector making something productive out of it would be better that way and use that to fill the need for, that's just,
No,
it's kind of a question, but it's an argument.
It's a good argument, but let's say the building's worth $450,000. We get that money today. It's gone. That building's gone. The ability to put any other departments that are expanding over there that close to the courthouse is gone forever. So that, and we can do the same thing. We take this money and go buy some land somewhere. That's such a unique piece with a unique property this close to the courthouse. I see this being different than the.
Well, to me, the courthouse is going no place. With the historical value of this courthouse in downtown Clear, Wyoming, that's not going anywhere. And when we had our discussion during staff this morning, I just right off the top, I can think of the expansion of the circuit court, because we've already been through that problem here about 6-7 years ago. We did some remodeling and it's worked for them so far, but they're going to need to expand. So you don't want a courthouse someplace out in the country, the circuit court, when you've got district court and everything else right downtown. So to me, that would, if and when we get to that point, that's the ideal place to build it. Yeah.
Okay, but if the courthouse isn't going anywhere, what's the point of the complex? the future, the purchase of the complex was the possibility of moving the courthouse up there, then why are you?
I don't believe they ever thought about moving the courthouse up to the complex.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
Oh,
go ahead, let Colleen, she got a quick comment and then you're on. Go ahead.
I just believe back in the day that they did look, but they looked at the square footage and it really would not house the whole courthouse. When they first purchased it, that's when they started looking into it possibly being the library. And that's just roughly in my mind what happened that many years ago, but and the only reason I know part of that is because extension was one of the things that were gonna possibly permanently move up there. And that was 20 years ago, and they never moved us up there, and now they have, but, so.
Okay, Lee, quick comment?
yeah, real quick. First, I'm going to speak in favor of the motion. And the reason I'm going to speak in favor of it is what this does for us is it buys us time. I don't want to make a hasty decision on disposing of it. And I don't want to sit there and mothball and be a liability. And if we can rent it out and we can keep it in active status, again, that buys us some time on what we're going to eventually do with everything. And I think we're not going to be able to ever get rid of the original courthouse building. If I'm understanding right, it's on the historic register of historic places. So whether we move everything from the county up to the complex or some other location, this building is still going to be sitting here. We could probably, tear down the addition, but you're not going to tear down the original courthouse. And so we're always going to have that building on our roster.
Okay, Lloyd, good comment.
Commissioner Livingston, not that I disagree 100%, but the old post office here in Cody was also on the register, and it's now in private hands.
Yeah, and that is a possibility.
The building itself may have to stay, but a private business could do something with it.
Yeah,
You're correct.
that's true. Any other quick discussion? Yeah, Doug, we gotta move this thing on.
Mine would only be that if we're gonna keep it and rent it, which I'm fine with, we've gotta make sure that these things we're renting are making us enough money to pay the bills for them. And I think that's the biggest thing, is looking at what that rent amount needs to be to cover all the costs associated with still owning that building, to make sure that it's not a drain on the county budget.
Very good point. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion, signify by aye. Doug, you were not? Okay. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carried.
You're on a roll, Teal.
Moving forward, Mike. Come up with some ideas about how to advertise that. I'm not sure we need to go with a full blown.
I don't think we do. I think Mike puts an ad in the paper, however you do it, saying this property is for rent, basically let us know how much you would pay us. It would be plus utilities. So we would be responsible for major maintenance. Now, what about, one of the things that's lawn care and snow removal. A lot of times the tenants on a single use property will take care of that themselves as part of the.
Well, as far as that property is concerned, we've got something right here to do it, so I think that.
It's in the rent.
So, anyway, Mike, you could work on that.
Will it be different than our complex property then, because utilities are included, so we're gonna exclude the utilities from this one?
Correct.
Right.
They would be $14 a foot plus utilities.
And we're gonna leave the advertise, open until we receive proposals, or is there a close date by when you want proposals to be?
Oh, no. 30 days?
Yeah.
Give them 30 days to get it into us, and then we'll consider it. The hard part is we have two people that are interested that are really under the clock, but guess what? I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, that's just the way it is.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
When we advertise utilities included, are we going in maintenance as well?
Plus utilities.
Plus.
Utilities are not included.
Right, well, that's what I meant. But what about maintenance?
So maintenance on the interior is theirs. If they want to paint, they gotta fix a faucet, they gotta do the lighting. Major maintenance is ours.
Okay.
So if the roof goes out, or if there's a roof leak,
snow removal, lawn care, all that?
Snow removal and lawn care would be on the county.
on the county?
Yeah, it would be.
Can we do it the other way or not? Is it just not-
We can do it either way.
You can do it either way. I'm just saying, we've got the equipment down and we've been doing it, so.
The theory is you can make up for it in the rent.
My question to Mike then, if I could, would it be to our advantage to have the lease include the exterior maintenance other than structural major?
You know, the drug court takes us, we run the brooms down the exterior walkways and then we shovel off the ramp, depending on snow. And then to mow it with our big commercial mowers, we're looking at 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So, I get it adds up over the summer, but we're running it across the street at the courthouse. It takes us just minutes to run it across, knock that out real quick.
Yeah, that was my thought.
So typically you would get more in the rent if you're taking care of for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's good. Thank you. And as far as complex concern, you want to put that on another agenda item, make a decision on what we're going to do with that?
I think we've all agreed, we have consensus to move forward to consider a sale of the entire property.
Yeah.
You want that as an formal?
Probably.
With the caveat of looking at other properties that are available.
Yeah.
With the proceeds, yeah.
Okay, if you'd like to put that form of motion, make a decision.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that the county consider a sale of the complex property, with the proceeds to be used to purchase land for future expansion.
Okay. You got a second on that?
Mr. Chairman, I would second if we could include the longevity of the library in existence.
Oh, yeah, and well, there's a whole bunch of details.
I know.
Yeah. So I think we're all on board that the library would have to have a sweetheart lease as part of the sale.
I will second.
Okay.
If Colleen can write that up.
Okay, further discussion on the motion? All those in favor, signify by aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carried, got it unanimous. All right, thank you very much.
what? I won.
Lloyd voted for it, Lloyd?
I won.
Thanks, Mike, Brian, appreciate it. Oh, you're up now. Yeah, okay, next on the agenda, run a little behind, but I'm glad we got that behind. This is Park County Engineer Brian Edwards, and we have two items. Number one, approval to submit signed letter for Park County Plat 2 Phase 2 and flap application.
Thank you, Brian.
Take it away.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
You can pull your mouth down.
Oh, yeah, I'll do that, so.
Hey, real quick, Brian, is the document that you passed out, is that what you just sent in your email a little while ago?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much. I got it.
So, as you know, the county, over the last year and a half or so, worked on the South Fork Flat Project, Phase 1, which extended from about the forest boundary to the end of the road at Cabot Creek. And we always intended that was the first phase of the project. In fact, when we first applied to it, or applied for funding, our eyes were on the first section of the road from state maintenance to about Andy Martin Hill was what we were looking at. Once we got in with federal highways and they scoped it, they rather worked from the end of the road and worked their way out. And so we went along with it on the funding. But it was always our intent to, I guess, finish this out in phases. So what we're asking today is they have a request for proposals, Federal Highway Administration, Central Federal Lands for funding for the state of Wyoming Federal Lands Access Program. What we would like to do is submit an application, which is due December 8th, so coming up next week, for Phase 2 of the South Fork project, which would get us completed from the end of the state maintenance
to the forest boundary where we left off phase one. And that would pretty much leave the South Fork Road in pretty good shape. We're talking about major pavement rehabilitation, some full depth reclamation, some minor realignment, horizontal, vertical in a few places where there's site distance issues, drainage improvements, some pretty big irrigation structures and things throughout that section that we'd have to work through. But with this project, we've reached out to various agencies to get their support. We've got the federal, the Forest Service and the BLM have both written letters of support. Wyoming Game and Fish has written letters of support. And what we're looking at is doing backcountry enforcement, and I think there are a couple others we're expecting this week too. So what we're looking at is a $16 million commitment. So going in for the project total, which that's the total project for Park County. What we're suggesting is the minimum match plus an overmatch, which is what we did on the phase one, which we've been told that's helps secure your chances of getting this funding, which amount to our total commitment would be somewhere in the range of 2.5 million. And we have sufficient funds that have been planning for this project in our county road fund. And so we would propose to use county road funds to bolster, our to handle the match side of it. But we think we've got a pretty decent shot at getting this funding. And I think the iron spot with us coming off the other one, we've got a good working relationship with Central Federal Lands, and I think timing wise, we're at the point where if not through this program, that the pavement's not, some of it's 40, 45 years old, and we've got to do some things pretty quick. So I think it's an opportunity for, we're looking at 15% on $16 million. To me, it's a no-brainer, but you guys are looking at the bigger picture. So basically what we need today, and this is not a decision that we're going to do it. It's just that you support us applying for the funding until they scope it or it's awarded and we sign an agreement. There's nothing committing the county other than you're supporting us applying for the fund at this point. And real quick, Joe, the one thing I'll say too, the letter, I know I just threw this at you pretty quick. And so if you see anything you want to change, we can edit or change it. And then I thought I'd work with Susan, we could get it on your letterhead, the commissioner's letterhead.
Yeah, great. Okay.
There is just one thing I was looking at in the last paragraph. You have our proposed project is supported by United States Forest Service, Bureau of Land Management, Wyoming Game and Fish, and other recreational organizations. I would say and local recreational organizations, because other makes it sound like Game and Fish is a recreational.
Oh, gotcha.
And if we get more, I would put the names in. I would tell the final letter if you can put the actual.
Yeah, we just don't know who we're gonna get just yet, but we're working on it aggressively. I get that, Commissioner Overfield, that's a good catch.
So, Mr. Chairman, this is a great example of how the county and the state are gonna have to leverage federal funds going forward. I mean, as we have shrinking dollars, this is just a great opportunity. I mean, for those math majors in the room, for every dollar we kick in, the feds are gonna kick in $6.60. I mean, this is how we get roads done. I applaud Mr. Edwards and have to give Mr. McDonald a few accolades too. He works on these pretty hard, but I appreciate staff chasing this stuff and doing such a good job. This is.
Just real quick, I mean, I know it's a great project, but just for the edification of the public, Brian, what's your best estimate on how long it's going to be before we would have to come in and do any major repairs on the new stretch road that was just finished and the new stretch road that we hopefully can get the funding for?
That's a good question. With the portion of the project that was completed this past summer, other than that, the gravel section of the road, which is about, from the Valley School area to the end of the road, it's going to need continued, coordination. It's just the nature of a gravel road. The rest of it, though, I think what we've been told from Federal Highways, and I think that's kind of our policy too, we're looking at in 3 years, looking at a chip seal for it, overlay for that, and that'll just help buy us time long term that should last a long time. So I think cost once we get that done, other than snow plowing, occasional crack sealing here and there, there can be minimal maintenance. And then as far as the road that we're applying for funding, we've got problems where, the patching is getting so bad and expensive that we're basically replacing road sections to patch because we got shoulders falling apart and we really lack some maintenance. So, I'm gonna say in the next 2 to 3 years, even without this funding, we need to be doing some pretty serious things on the road.
Okay. Other question? Oh,
Not really quick, I guess we're kind of along the line of Commissioner Livingston for the public's knowledge. I fully support this. I think it's a great thing, but we are going to catch a lot of crap about, here we are catering to outfitters up South Fork and rich people and all that. And I want everybody to understand the papers that FLAP is an acronym for Federal Land Access Program, and we don't have a lot of major roads in our county that qualify for this. So for the money that we have to invest, it's really a good deal. We're spending 10% on getting a $16 million project. That's a win for everybody, whether you live up South Fork, access it or not.
Right. Mr. Chairman, to follow up on that, it is true the phase that we just completed there towards the end, it's, a handful of large landowners that live up it, but it's really the federal lands access is the basis for the program. That part has really already been done. It's been this next section that we're working on. There's several landowners in a fairly busy section of the road, at least to say Andy Martin Hill with the lower South Fork Loop, pretty busy section of road. So I think there will be residential, not collateral damage, of benefit from the lands access program. I know the people that live on the South Fork probably not real excited about more construction and whatnot, but I think once this is done, we can be in good shape for a long time from that road.
Well, I don't understand, sort of made this comment once before when we were discussing this. I think the South Fork Road probably accesses more public land than any road in the nation. When you really start thinking about all the different trailheads and how far you can go, it's phenomenal. Anyway.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we sign the letter with the recommended amendments and apply for the program.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor of the motion, signify by aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now, for the record, Lloyd voted aye twice.
I know.
Okay.
He's on a roll now.
Just keep on with me.
Okay, next up, this is consider request to fill open landfill lot attendant for Park County landfill. Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also have with me our new landfill manager, Dr. Greg Palmerstein, new as of Monday last week. So he's getting settled, getting his feet wet. We've had some issues come up with, as you know, in the past, our past landfill manager, that landfill division has juggled a lot of part-time help. It's been quite a deal to keep up with. So pretty impressive that they've been able to do it all over the years. But due to health issues, we're losing, at least temporarily, we just don't know the extent, a gate attendant, which we've done some juggling to cover that gate attendant position. And what Greg and I are already seeing and looking at the landfill where we're really hurting is we never did replace when we had a retirement of a lawn attendant position. And there's a lot of maintenance related things that aren't getting done because they are so short out there. As you've been up and down the TT highway lately, the litter is just awful. And a lot of that because we lose our summer hands and litter crews that really don't have that in the winter. And so our lawn attendant helps pick up some of that slack. And there's other issues too at the landfill on the maintenance side that this person would wear a lot of hats, or lawn attendant wears a lot of hats, would also cover for scale house when you needed it, but a lot of different things. The wage for this position, and this is where Jay Ward, when he retired, that same spot, around $15.05 an hour. What I think is Greg and I have some things to probably work out with staff, so I can see that as being the highest at this point because we've got other considerations with other staff and not wanting to step on any toes, but we've got some logistical things to kind of work out. But I think this position's needed. I know Greg's pretty new to it, but he's looking at it as well, that they are running pretty thin with staff right now. So we'd ask to go ahead and replace and hire a lawn attendant. And this person, I don't want to say would be Cody, it would be a floater type position that would work Cody, Powell, and just really wherever we need them. But that's why it probably leans towards the higher rate of $15.05. But part-time position, not to exceed whatever it is, 29 hours a week.
Mr. Chairman, how long has it been open?
Since spring, I can't recall when Jay's left. We've been kind of a revolving door.
6 months?
6 months or so, yeah. But like I say, you can see, because we've had a fairly big transition with Ken retiring, that period in between, which Greg's gonna fill in a lot of that, but some things just have not been getting done, that we need to get done.
Permanent part-time, no benefits.
Permanent part-time, no benefits, correct.
Mr. Chairman, I believe I know the answer to this question, but I want Brian to say it. This falls well within your budget.
It does. In fact, this position's in the landfill budget. We double checked it. So that's been in there all along. So we're good to go there.
What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve the landfill lot attendant.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, signify by
Aye.
aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Real quick, Greg, did you have anything you want to add that I apologize? Okay. Apologize for still. Hey, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, sorry we're running behind, but next on the agenda is Park County Attorney Brian Sport and it's Powell Library RFP.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
I would just say for those that
Ask.
have looked at it in SharePoint, we did get an update from Pat Stewart with 1 or 2 small grammatical changes and 1 number changed by $100. So I think you received those also.
I did.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I'm not sure really why I'm here, but I just did the legal review on this. But
Yeah, that's all.
I think you all have it, so might be able to answer questions for you, but somebody from the board or Dossie might be in a better position to answer the whys of what it is.
Well, I think the most important thing you can answer, Dossie, is who's paying for this.
This will be paid for, this preliminary study, an RFP will be paid for by the Library Foundation Board. They're asking for basically schematics on a couple different ways to rebuild or upsize the Powell Library, which has been found to be too small, and they want to renovate. So they want to stay on the same property, they've agreed with that, but they want to figure out what options they have. So this RFP allows them to get options from architects, both adding up maybe on areas that can be, or adding out over the existing parking lot that the county owns, things like that.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, that's on really what's happening is on page 3 of the RFP. Phase 1 and phase 2 adequately describes what it's called.
What are you going to question?
Well, Mr. Chairman, yes, for Brian, this in no way obligates us to go any further if we choose not to,
Mr. Chairman,
as a family.
Commissioner Fielder does not.
Mr. Chairman, I take it a step further and say that this is information only. I'm not even sure this is an action item, but I want to say that County Attorney Skork did a great job with this presentation today.
I spent a lot of time preparing.
Okay. Somebody, help me.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we send out the RFP as presented for the Powell Library.
Great. Have a second?
Second?
Okay, discussion on the motion, all those in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, next on the agenda, this is Park County Clerk Colleen Renner, and this is Park County Clerk's Employee Week.
Thank you, Chairman. Okay, so I'm pretty sure all of you are aware of the circumstances that have taken place in our office since July. I would like to first say my employees are doing an awesome job. We're moving forward. We're getting things covered, but we are doing a lot of changes. So with that, in moving one clerk to a land position, which is a deputy 2 position, and then we just being able to move 2 others because they've stepped up and filled the shoes and duties that had the deceased employee was doing. And so with that, all of these recommendations that I presented to you do stay within my budget. If you allow the 1-step increase with 6 months for the 2 new hires, giving them an increase after 6 months of being here and doing a good job. I mean, I'm very firm about that. You know, I'm not just gonna give it to them because they've been here 6 months. There would be $10,118.69 savings to my budget, so I would not be going over budget in my wages. If we did 2 steps, except for the new hires, they would still only get 1 step. There would be a $6,396.27 savings. So I'm staying within my wage, but with all of the different duties that these clerks have moved around and prearranged and had to learn how to do over the last 5 months, I really believe that they all are doing an excellent job, and I would like to move them and show them that we truly as a county appreciate what they're doing and how they stepped up.
Are you recommending the 1-step move or the 2-step move?
You know, I would leave that to you guys. I really, no, I mean, I would be very happy, and I think everyone would be very happy with the 1-step. And, you know, I mean, down the line, maybe we can do it again, but they just stepped up and they showed me that through everything we dealt with from July to now, they get it, they're learning it. I can go through, I had them answer an email of all the things that they've done differently or doing differently than what they did 6 months ago. Just in rearranging the positions and having an employee that knew a lot leave unexpectedly, so.
Discussion? Yeah.
Just real quick, Colleen, you know, due to the unfortunate loss of your employee 5 months ago, have you brought on another employee, or are you just asking the staff that's there to assume more responsibility?
Okay, so the staff is assuming more responsibility because they've been moved into positions they haven't worked before, or will be moved into positions they haven't worked before. But no, I was allowed to replace both the one employee that moved to the court system and the employee that passed away. So both of those have been filled, those positions. So we are fully staffed. It's just the duties of several of those that have been in the positions they were in, their duties have changed because of the deceased employee doing what they used to do. Somebody had to take over and cover those things, and that's why I would like to give several of them a 1-step increase.
So a follow up on that. So just clarification, when you filled the position that was vacated, you obviously did not bring them in at the salary you were paying the deceased employee.
No, the deceased employee made $20.79 an hour. The new hires came in at $13.73 an hour.
Okay, thank you.
So that's where you're saving the $6,000 for the 2-step increase is coming from?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
Further discussion, questions? What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move we allow the clerk to increase the wages 1 step, as you referenced to. With a question, I guess, also, the savings you're talking about is based on basically a half a year though, right?
No, that would be a savings for the full year of,
For this year, but if it next year, I know it's a whole new budget, but,
we would still be $10,000 less in
Okay.
wages than what I am right
Okay.
now.
okay.
Yep.
Second, I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, discussion? The only comment that I have, and I'll most definitely speak in favor of the motion, and our people throughout this COVID deal have really stepped up to the plate and done one hell of a job for it. And that's something that I don't think the county has been doing properly in the past, is compensating our employees for what they're worth. So I'm very much in favor of it. Any further discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman, we heard today from the county assessor, rough numbers, hard to hold him accountable, but he threw it out there. We're looking at from 700 million to 600 million drop in assessed valuation. So I would encourage you to contact the clerk's office and say, what impact would that have? And if that happens, what's the impact to our budget? I think it'd be good information to have for the next 6 months. I'm in favor of this, but I thought of that while he was here. I think it'd be good information to have in your hip pockets as we consider the exuberance of staffing that we've seen.
Nothing.
Mr. Chairman, I think that will also help my committee on the personnel benefit side, if we can get a little bit of updated information from Steve on some of that.
Further discussion on the motion? All those in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Lee, is that a yay or?
That's aye.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right, motion passes.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. And
Thank you, Colleen.
sorry, guys.
Okay, and next up, we've got some board interviews. And in the past, we've done it in executive session. This is not an executive session today, so if the press wants to say, that's fine. If you want to leave, that's fine too. Okay, and the first interview we have today, and this is Mary Rumsey. And this is, let's see, what's she applying for? MLPC.
The Matisse local.
Oh, Matisse local planning, okay. Okay, and she's here virtually. Very welcome.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And the way we work this process, we'll give you an opportunity to tell us about yourself, why you can bring to the table if you're appointed to the planning commission over there at Matisse, and then we'll ask questions. So the floor is yours.
Very good. I've lived outside of Matisse for the past 23 years. It's wonderful. It's Wyoming is beyond. But I've seen a lot of changes. We're about 2 miles from the Forest Service boundary. There's a lot of additional traffic going up to the forest. And in the past few years, there's been a lot of changes, ranches being sold, new people coming in. And I just think that we need to really pay close attention to zoning issues in this area and what's being done. Just because there's a lot of changes and we want to keep what we have as wonderful as we have it if possible. So I have a business background, business and economics from the University of Minnesota, and I've worked in Cargill in the agribusiness areas for a number of years, and then moving on to the financial services business in New York City, as well as now out here. So, and I'm actively involved with trying to make things better habitat-wise for moose and other animals with Forest Service, and working closely with Game and Fish and the University of Wyoming as well on various projects. So with that, I hope I can get a good input to this committee on things that are going on and just observations that we see, and hopefully we keep things in the proper order. So.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and open up the questions. Lloyd, I'll let you go first, Dick.
Mary, thanks for applying. Have you attended any of the meetings that the TC planning has had yet?
No, I have not. I've spoke to a person who used to chair the committee about what the committee does. But I have not attended any of the past meetings.
So you're familiar with how often they meet and things like that?
It sounds like it's semi-annually, the second Thursday. So it's reviewing, it's my understanding, it's looking at what you're, as a commission, is suggesting for the area and hopefully getting some local input from the various members on the committee.
And one last thing, if you're elected, could you do me a favor as liaison for the commissioner? Could you keep me informed as when your meetings are?
I'm going to ask, if I'm appointed or selected, I'm going to ask Susan exactly which is the second Thursday. I'm assuming it's probably in January, but I do need some clarification on that. I will let you know.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Lee. Got a question?
I know I've worked with Mary on some different game and fish issues, and I think she'd be a great asset to the board, and I appreciate you applying.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Duffy?
No, thank you for applying. I guess I would just ask, your resume is really extensive. Board work, board cohesiveness. How do you feel about working on a board, and have you served on other boards of this similar type, I guess, for public input?
Well, I headed up the Park County Mental Health Board in the past, and you need to get a lot of input from the various people, the community, and the various shareholders and stakeholders, as well as the active management that's running things. So it's always a collaborative process, and it's a lot of listening is involved in many of these boards.
Thank you. Thanks again for applying.
Thank you.
I'm good.
You're good? Okay, I just want to say thank you very much for applying, and I have no questions, and we'll be back in touch with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Stay safe. Very best.
Take care. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to make a point to you that the 4 other members that are sitting on the board now, none of them reapplied.
Yep.
So you may have to advertise for 3 more positions again, because we got no other applications. We have 4 seats to fill.
How big is the board?
4.
4.
There's 4, and they all come up at once, every year, every 3 years?
At the same time. And none of them reapplied. And I got to.
So none of the present board members have ever applied, which is really a shame, because we've had a very good show.
Yeah, so you only have 1 application.
Okay.
Mary should be able to get something done with her committee then.
Yeah.
Just letting you know, FYI.
Okay, you want to see if Andrew is out there?
Hi there, have a seat. Hi there.
Good morning. Welcome. Maybe work this will give you an opportunity to sort of tell us everything you want to tell us about yourself, and then we'll ask some questions.
Okay.
Take it from there.
All right, sounds good. Well, I'm Andrea Earhart. I live in Powell. I grew up on a farm. My family continues to farm there. My children are the 5th generation to live on that farm. I'm also an attorney. I have an office here in Cody. I do practice in agricultural law as well as other areas of the law. I, for the last 10 years or so, my son has actively played competitive soccer. And so I have been involved with the Heart Mountain Soccer Association, and that's kind of been my board that I've devoted my time to. And now he's in high school, so he plays through the high school. And so I have had that come off of my plate. And so I was looking for another way to give back. And certainly another thing that's important to me and close to my heart is the fair. And so I saw that there was an opening on the fair board. And so that's why I have submitted my application there, because I do feel a need to give back. And I know you probably all read my letter, but that has been, when I look back at fond memories of growing up, fond memories with my father and with my children, I'm sorry, I have trouble talking through that. So-
If you're comfortable, you can take it off,
Okay.
and then we can hear you.
Okay, yes, thank you, because I feel like I suck it in. Anyways, when I look back, those are certainly highlights of my growing up, highlights with my connection with the family, and certainly something that I share with my children and enjoy. It's a big part of our year, and so I certainly have a desire to see the Park County Fair succeed and continue. Another thing, in the day and age that we live in, I think it's so important for the general public to understand agriculture, where food comes from. And I think that the fair is a big outlet for that. We spend a lot of time during Fair Week interacting with just the general public, answering questions that they have, letting them see the exhibits that my children have. And so like the carcass contest and things like that people just, they don't see, they don't get exposed to in other instances. So certainly that's another part of the fair that I think is important and would certainly be missed or the community itself would not benefit as much from, not having those opportunities. So, those are my reasons for putting my name in the hat and asking to be included on the fair board. Certainly, I'm happy to answer questions that you may have.
Lloyd?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Have you attended any of the fair board meetings recently?
I did. I attended the meeting where they asked for feedback from the 2019 fair. I attended that fair board meeting, but that's the most recent one that I've attended.
I have to disclose that I've known Andrea for a long time, although I don't believe I've seen you for 30 plus years. I do know that she was very active when I was in school, as well as in the fair. If you read her letter stuff, she was at fair a lot. Her family has supported it quite a bit, and she knows the fair in and out, unless she's forgot it. And I don't know how much she's attended lately, but that's all I have.
Okay, Lee?
No question. Appreciate you applying. Sound like you'd be a good asset. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Johnny?
Usually my questions have to do with board service, but you've been there. You've done that kind of thing before with the youth soccer program, so I don't have any question about your board work and understanding how boards work that way. If you had the question posed to you, what would you change at the fair? How would you answer that right now?
Well, I like the tradition of fair. I like that, 110 years of the fair happening. And I think that things, change because they need to change. I feel like the biggest pressure on the need for change is probably financial. And so, I guess that my question to you would be, I would only want to change what we needed to change, either to make something better or to adjust because of, the financial strain that, everyone is experiencing. But, I like how the fair has a lot of different components, the agricultural part that I've talked about, the way of bringing the community together, offering unique events that you just don't have at other times during the year. So for me, I would only change what we needed to make it better or to deal with the constraints that are.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I would just say, Andrea, you're certainly well qualified. Thank you for applying.
Thank you.
This morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got one question, and you kind of touched on it a little bit with Dossie's question. And the fair has sort of gone back and forth as far as the different events that we have, and it's been a real challenge for the advisory board to figure out, what event's going to be attended and what's not going to be attended.
Sure.
We went from agriculture, we shifted back over to the motorsport. We did a lot of work down there with creating these berms and mountains for motocross and all of that. Then we went in and tore all of that down because it's going back more towards agriculture now. Do you have any preference one way or the other?
Well, there's a couple of different ways that I can look at that. I think, I think it's important to watch the trends of what's being attended. And, you know, if those motorsports things have been heavily attended and, you know, can serve as, you know, covering their expense or even benefiting, you know, the budget as a whole, that would be something that would be worth considering. It does seem like some of those sorts of programs or entertainment, they kind of run their cycle. It seems like, you know, after a few years, everybody's experienced it. It's not new, it's not as exciting, and maybe the attendance does drop. And that would be an instance that I would think we'd want to look at different types of entertainment or things to do. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
It does. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Any other questions? You got anything else going on?
No, I just thank you for your time, and certainly if you think it would be appropriate, I'm happy and would look forward to serving on the Fair Board.
Thank you very much for applying.
Yep.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Take
Yes.
care.
Yep. Have a good day.
You also. Come on in. Front and center.
Right here?
Yeah.
Perfect. Good morning.
Good morning. How are
Almost
you?
lunch. Between Andrea Airport and lunch, this is a hard place to be.
Okay, the way we handle this, we give you an opportunity to tell us about yourself, why you want to apply, why you've applied, and then we'll ask some questions. You can take your mask off to talk.
Perfect.
We can hear you a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. Heather Morrison. I've been in Wyoming for about 5 years. My husband and I have wanted to be here for quite some time. My husband went to college at the University of Wyoming and fell in love with the state when he started taking Wyoming history, but came from the Colorado area. My husband grew up in a very small mountain community there, doing a lot of farming and raising hogs, which he loved, but we both kind of gravitated to careers there that didn't really allow us the lifestyle that we kind of dreamed of having. My husband was a professional firefighter there. He's a Desert Storm veteran, and I was in a very large healthcare system there. I'm very passionate about customer service, but community service and public service. I love to serve those around me. But we moved here just because we felt like we were getting pretty calloused in the environment in which we lived. The cities just, we lived in the Loveland, Fort Collins area. I feel like when I grew up there, it was the size of Cody when I went to high school, but all of a sudden it was huge. And with that, you encounter all those issues. So just wanting to raise our kids in a smaller community, we really wanted our kids to have livestock and grow up with that. We wanted them to be involved in FFA, and the high school I went to didn't even have an FFA program, and 4-H. So that was one of the things that brought us here. And we had vacation here and honeymoon here. So came here, fell in love with the community here, and made the move. So the first year I was here, we got our kids involved in the 4-H program here, and wanted to start showing livestock and things of that nature. But we didn't at first. We just didn't feel like we had enough community connection. We didn't understand how things had always been. So took some time to try and understand what the community was like. Things were obviously different in different areas. The first thing I wanted to do was I became involved in the 4-H Council, and I made a few friends there that I feel like kind of really helped me understand a lot. Pete Foley was a great mentor to have in learning different things in the community. He was a great guy, and at that time he was president on the council. So I think what we have left of a council for 4-H is kind of dwindling, but my desire to move in this direction is I just feel like there are some gaps. There are a lot of parents that have a lot of opinions and a lot of people who have a lot of opinions about how things are done, but you just don't get a lot of people who want to implement and execute and do things. They want to complain about it, but it seems like there hasn't been a lot of people who have solutions or the desire to help. And so now I have a 4-H group of my own. Somehow I inherited that. And I just enjoy working with kids and working with the community. The parents I've come to love, the kids I've come to love. My favorite part of that is being able to work with them and see things happen. So, sorry, that was a lot really fast, but do you have questions about that? Because I can go in a whole other direction, but.
Heather, thank you very much for applying. I really appreciate your passion to get involved. That says a lot. We do often have more applicants than we have openings. So regardless of what the decision is made, I really appreciate and encourage you to stay involved. I guess my only question that I'd like to keep consistency is, have you attended any Fair Board meetings as yet?
You know, I haven't. Christy Mickey and her children are in my 4-H group. So Christy typically kept our group abroad of what was happening last fair season. And just based on some of the interactions and the conversations we had with the kids, as well as the other parents there, and when Christy would give us updates about that, I just felt like she did a great job of keeping us informed and doing that. But I wasn't sure what the manpower looked like for the group. And, you know, if you needed additional help, I wasn't sure, being new to this area, I'm not sure how many applicants you even get for this. Sometimes I'm surprised.
Yeah.
When I post positions for the hospital, sometimes I don't get any applicants, and sometimes I get 15 applicants that have never had any experience in healthcare. And so just not knowing what's out there, you know, regardless of the outcome of this, I will continue to be involved because I really do enjoy the community. I enjoy learning. I enjoy making connections with people. So that part is for sure for me.
Well, thank you. And what you hit the nail on the head. You have a lot of people that wanted to complain, and then they armchair quarterbacks, but none of them want to get involved. So I really commend you for putting your name forward. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, thanks for applying. And Commissioner Teal kind of stole what I was going to talk about is please do, if you're not appointed, please do stay involved and you know, reapply if positions come available on down the road. You know, every Fair Board meeting is open to the public, and having someone there to have some fresh ideas, it'd be a good thing. So again, thank you for applying and continue to stay involved.
So I'm just curious to ask this group a little bit more. So when you have opportunities like this, I guess I never really had enough information to truly understand what the expectations of the members are. Is it to help make decisions, the right decisions, or is it to complete an agenda? I mean, I'm just curious to understand more about how those items come about.
Well, I mean, basically, the Fair Board is an advisory board to the commission on basically how you feel that the fair should function and what they should do, which events they should put on, and things like that.
Sure. So you're actually helping shape that picture.
Yeah, okay. Definitely. That is your job.
Not one person's job.
Questions?
Other thanks for applying, and I will tell you that I was in your position about 40-some years ago. I grew up in Boulder, and we moved up here, same reasons, raised boys, horses, got into 4-H, did all those things. So there's a light at the end of the tunnel, just working on it. But on that end, Fair Board, like we said, it's advisory to the commissioners, but basically making the decisions on what type of events, you know, the schedule, that type of thing. How many things to offer for the kids, what kind of time we have as far as the 4-H section of it goes, those types of things. Have you done a lot of board work in the past? Have you sat on other boards that have a lot of public input?
Yeah, actually, I worked very closely with a group in Colorado. It was called Philo. It was a philanthropy group that did a lot of worked for the community there, and I served several different positions there, from, I think I served everything but vice president there. I really enjoyed that. I do work pretty closely with, again, the 4-H council here. I work very close with the administration. I work in IC for Cody Regional Health. So working for solutions is a lot of what I do each day at the hospital in the ever challenging times. Vaccine distribution's my next hot button. So, yeah, I do feel like I've grown in a lot of areas and I've worn a lot of hats that way. But I think that the characteristic that I bring to a group like that is I have the ability to look at things from more than just my own point of view. I think there are some people that I've worked with closely on boards who have their very own agenda close to heart. And it was hard for them to want to see other people's perspective. And I think that, I think that you've got to have some flexibility when you deal with so many people in an area. Obviously, nobody's going to be happy with every single outcome, but I think trying to make the best decisions for safety, for continuity of what the mission really is if you're trying to deliver a fare, is it a safe fare? Is it, an affordable fare? Is it, have you, I guess, included all of the elements that are necessary to try and make everyone buy into the event? So I think that those things are important, but I think just the background of some of those different things that I've worked with, whether it's been at the hospital, we've had to execute, different mask mandates or whatever they are. Now it's goggles, just whatever those are. It's just trying to make people understand the why and how we got to this decision is really important, I think, for the community as well as employers or whoever has to buy into the process.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for replying.
Sure.
Dave?
Heather, tell me, you said you have a 4-H group. Tell me about that. How does that fit in with?
When we moved here, we were trying to find a 4-H group, and we came from an area that it was very, the same groups existed forever. There wasn't much change in the leadership of those. So we kind of, myself and another parent, we started our own little group. It started off with 3 separate siblings. And that was like our first year, and we were fine because we knew just the very specific things that our kids wanted to work on, and we could move forward. But what we encountered with that is we got inquiries from the community where kids were like, oh, geez, does anybody do leather work? Does anybody, do miniature horses? Just different things that we didn't necessarily branch out to, but we were more active than a lot of other groups, and we actually have we do have monthly meetings that are run by kids and things like that. So it's changed in the amount of time that we've had it. It's it's off the grid. It's the youngest group probably in Park County, but I think now we're probably up to 35 kids now. We started with 6 just 2 or 3 years ago. But it's been interesting to learn that and to teach kids Parley Pro and the things that are good important to that organization, I should say, about running a good business meeting and officers and learning what those roles do. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. Thank you for replying.
You're welcome.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, just one quick question. Obviously, you're a very busy lady. So my only question is do you have the time to devote to this particular position? I mean, the meetings are in the evening, so that's not a big deal, but the week of fair, the advisory members are there and they're doing all the work.
I've been there, I think.
Well, I figured you had.
I do. I usually take that week of fair off, and I spend it there. I try and support kids that need help. There are some kids whose parents drop them off and they're there for the day by themselves and they don't know where they're supposed to be. Where do I weigh in? How do I get there? What do I do? I've done that in the past, but if my responsibility shifted and I needed to help either coordinate, I don't know, showmanship or, poultry barn or something like that, I'm more than happy to do that.
Okay.
I enjoy that. I think some of the hobbies I had in Colorado have kind of gone by the wayside as I've learned different things that I enjoy doing since I've gotten here.
All right, great. Thank you very much for applying and
Thank you so much.
appreciate you taking time out of your day.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. What's pleasure for lunch, folks?
Whatever.
What are the choices?
I think I'll stay here, Mr. Chairman.
You don't want me to?
I thought you were buying.
Yeah. I actually gotta run across town.
Huh?
I gotta run across town.
Oh, you're not gonna have lunch with us?
Strap on.
How long are we breaking for?
We're back at 1:15.
Yeah, I think, and I got some errands I gotta go settle up, so no.
Okay, see you after that.
Unfortunately.
Well, we're probably, Mill would be pushing it, I think.
Probably. Okay, whatever.
How about high school hammers the